This is what I talked about in, Mike Tyson glamorizing child abuse. So many of the things that we glamorize in our society are predicated upon child abuse. There is no Mike Tyson if he wasn't abused as a child. There are no boxers if people weren't abused as children. There are no serial killers if people weren't abused as children. So now we have Dahmer as entertainment. And they're calling this one of the most factually accurate biopics ever, which tells you that it's almost 100% lies, which it is. This is pure lies. What this is the glamorization, the Hollywoodization, the superstarization of Jeffrey Dahmer. Let's turn Jeffrey Dahmer into our hometown serial killer. A young Jeff contends with troubles at home and school. Left to live alone after his parents' turbulent divorce. Look how they're portraying him just in the show titles. From high school to the army, Jeff struggles to find stability. You see how they're just portraying him like he's this confused, lost soul? I don't even have to watch this show to know what it is. But I'll tell you what, this story they're selling you is a complete lie. Jeffrey Dahmer was raised to be a serial killer. Jeffrey Dahmer was tortured as a child. He was raised in a quote-unquote satanic cult or something like that, some kind of loony torture cult. And he was, that's just the tip of the iceberg. Jeffrey Dahmer, well, if you really want to know the true story of Jeffrey Dahmer and serial killers in general, you need to check this channel out. This guy's basically carrying on the work of Dave McGowan, whose work I mentioned previously with the Laurel Canyon scene. He also wrote another book called Programmed to Kill, which is about serial killers, and is the work that Lowfield's channel and website is based upon. So he basically has like this encyclopedia of serial killer stuff, and it all ties into Programmed to Kill. And like all the serial killers, Jeffrey Dahmer was programmed to kill. So this is one of the ones I commented on recently, part 293, which is an interview with some of the victims of Jeffrey Dahmer, including this guy, Billy Joe. Now, Billy Joe's story is insane. Basically, this guy was shipped out to a military base in Germany to be a pet victim for Jeffrey Dahmer. Jeffrey Dahmer was stationed on a German military base, which is where it is believed that he first did his serial killings on the German populace. But at the same time, he had this guy Billy Joe, who was his roommate on the military base. He kept Billy Joe tied up in the room where he beat him and raped him every day for months and months. So Billy Joe didn't come to Reveille or whatever the fuck it is these people do. He didn't come to the military exercises because he was tied up in the room. And this went on for months and months. So that's the reason why I said in my comment that Billy Joe was profiled. That's how serial killers work. That's how predators work. They look for people who have been pre-victimized, have already been conditioned to being a victim. Very few people would sit still in a room for months on end being raped and beaten without fighting back or trying to escape or something, unless they had been conditioned to it from childhood. So it's my belief that Billy Joe was profiled upon entry into the military by psychological profilers, and he was chosen to be the victim. Billy Joe said during his talk here that everyone on the military base knew about it. They laughed about it. They laughed at him. And again, Germany is where Jeffrey Dahmer started serial killing. So the thing with Dahmer is, like so many serial killers, especially the high-profile ones, There are all these strange snafus and failures upon the part of law enforcement, the judicial system, and so on and so on. Seemingly, they always catch these guys and let them go. No trial or some kind of technicality. These guys keep getting out and getting ignored by law enforcement. For instance, Dahmer had a guy in his apartment that he was torturing and raping. This guy escaped, ran to the cops, told the cops what was happening. The cops went over there, knocked on the door, and left Dahmer to continue without even searching his apartment. And this happens over and over in these high-profile serial killer cases. You see stuff like the Henry Lee Lucas. That one's insane. Dutroux, the Marc Dutroux in Belgium. But look up those two cases if you really want to see how these serial killers get protected from the highest levels of the judicial system. But the reason why I did this is just to bring your attention once again to the media glamorization of absolute, complete insanity, psychopathy, cannibalism, just everything that they want us to be and want us to look up to. They want you to see Dahmer as a higher form of life. I've never watched this show. I haven't watched a single second of it. I don't know anything about it other than these titles. But I can tell you that if I was to watch this show, that they're giving subtle hints that Dahmer is somehow better, smarter, stronger, more capable, rather than a victim himself, which is the real truth. A victim of vicious child abuse, because the things that Dahmer did to others are the things that were done to him and that he witnessed as a child, being raised in this cult. And that's the lie that they want to sell you here, is that serial killers just pop out of thin air. Somebody this nuts, a serial killer, rapist, cannibal, can just pop out of thin air. Just one day he's just feeling weird and he feels different. I feel different inside. That's what they want you to believe, that these serial killers just come out of nowhere when they're being created. They're being programmed to kill. And the audience also is being programmed to kill, and to see these people, accept them as overlords, right? To see them as somehow better because of their lack of emotional depth. To see an emotional cripple as somehow a superpower. And to lie, most importantly, to lie to you about how he got that quote-unquote superpower of being an emotionless psycho killer. They want you to believe it came from some X-Men gene or something, rather than a childhood filled with murderous torture, abuse. That's what makes it Jeffrey Dahmer. That's what makes this show such a lie. They make it just like he just came out of nowhere. Just decided to be a serial killer. Not something that he was conditioned and programmed to be from a child. And that's what you see with the glamorization of abuse, the glamorization of serial killers, school shooters, gangsters. Just look at my Sammy the Bull video I did. Still to this day, it has more downvotes than upvotes. All these people sticking up for Sammy. What did Sammy ever do for them? What did Sammy ever do for them? If you wanted to become famous in our society, what better could you possibly do than kill a bunch of people? Whether as a serial killer or a drug dealer, gangster, a mass murderer, a school shooter, whatever it is, a war hero, whatever it is, they'll make a movie about you. They'll make a movie about you. Because that's what we celebrate in our society. We celebrate child abuse and the products of child abuse. Because without child abuse, there is no civilization. Because there's no one to dig the bricks out of the ground and go fight the wars.